All right. Regular meeting of the August 13th, 2013 Fairview Municipal Planning Commission come to order. It's 7:04. On the agenda, the opening item will be prayer and pledge. Mr. Lavorne, can you help us?
Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. Father, we thank you for the many blessings. Father, we ask that you would guide these men and women as they undertake the city's business, that their decisions would be in the best interest of the citizens. Father, we ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
We need to get a discussion on the approval and additions.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on recommendations 5.2 and also on new business 8.5. Is that one and the same?
Don, I think 5.2 would be the items that were done last meeting, and
Okay.
8.4 would be the, or 8.5 would be the items that were done tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The 5.2 is just to, for feedback from the from the Board of Commissioners and the action they took on the items that we voted on last month for recommendations.
Just wanted a clarification of that. They read the same.
We have an agenda item that came over, 8.6, to discuss interaction on plan of services for the annexation of Jerry Carey property and the Russell Spicer property. That should be in the packets that came in before tonight.
Chairman, I can make the agenda to change for discussion and take action on the return of the bond for Chico Martin. Trust and I put a raise here tonight, and I believe that there's no discussion about it, but the Codes Department and City Engineer said that everything's been done as required to complete that bond. Put that on.
Okay, that'd be under 6.1.
Yes. Since there is no test on the bond.
Are there any other additions or deletions? Okay, if we're okay with that, we have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda's set. Item number 3 are citizens' comments.
Mr. Chairman, there are no citizens' comments tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Cantrell. Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes from the July 9th regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, I've got a couple of changes that need to be addressed under 8.1. Just know that Planning Commissioner Behan was not available last meeting. 8.1, he is stated to say something, and then under 8.2, he is stated to say something as well, and I believe that person should be Beata instead of Behan. And then finally, on 8.4, under the discussion interaction for recommendations from the workshop, I believe that the town center south of Highway 100 from Chester Road to the traffic light at Cox Pike instead of to Cox Pike. Are there any other changes to the minutes? If there are none, then we need to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Item number 5 are recommendations for July 2013. Don?
5.1, the Board of Commissioners have asked the city attorney to prepare those, the ordinance for that rezoning application. It will be on the Board of Commissioners agenda for Thursday night. for first reading. 5.2, the discussion from the workshop of the land use map. Planning Commission recommended to expand Town Center to the south side of Highway 100. I prepared a map and presented it to the Board of Commissioners. They have asked that I get a surveyor to give us an estimate on what it would cost to survey the boundary, and then bring that back to them before they make the decision whether or not to expand Town Center or not.
All right. Item 6.1, interaction on the return of the bond for Jingo Market. Is there a representative here from Jingo? Hello. Okay, I understand city engineer and staff have reviewed all of the items that were covered by the bond, and are they acceptable to the city? Okay,
And city engineer? Yes, they are. I'd like to make a motion to return bond.
Second.
got a motion and a second to return the bond. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. There is no old business. Under new business, 8.1, rezoning application for property located on Chester Road from RS 15 PUD to RS 40, map 47, parcel 26.01, 14.17 acres, Kelly Shiver owner. Motion, please.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Floor is open to discussion. I'd like to introduce the engineer's comments, please.
8.1, there are no engineering comments.
We have a motion for approval. Any further discussion?
Move to approve.
Got a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8.2 is the conceptual site plan for Taco Bell to build a 2,084 square foot building located at 2389 Fairview Boulevard, map 47, parcel 7.879 acres, CVH C5 LLC owner.
Make a motion to approve?
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a second. We open the floor for discussion. Engineering comments will be read first.
Item 8.2, engineering comments. Underground storm water detention will be required for this site in accordance with city storm water regulations.
Okay, under the minutes that were approved last meeting, we have I believe that the engineer is Mr. Thompson. I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, Harold Thompson, architect.
You're the architect.
I'm the architect, yes.
Excuse me. It says Thompson stated the right side of the elevation would be all brick masonry, including the area behind the slats. Under the design review that we have here, it looks like that area is going to be Efus and colored,
Clematis.
which is kind of a purple. And I believe that we had talked about changing the material to brick, and then also the color behind that. We have an agreement in the minutes that were approved, and now we have the conceptual plan of the building that's different. Can you tell us what happened in between those two times?
Yes, what happened was that as we went back to corporate, they were pretty adamant about keeping their brand and their branding, which includes the purple color. And so they want us to build it the way the prototype shows it. So that's why it's changed and it's coming back in front of you now. Let me just say a couple of things about that. I think the last time we showed renderings of what it would look like at a nighttime view. We have since obtained actual photographs of one that is already constructed, and I'd like to give each one of you a copy of that so that we can see what it actually looks like at night.
Okay. I think
That'd be a good idea.
that'd be a great idea. Thank you, sir.
And I believe with the image, you can see that it is the true photograph itself is actually less imposing than the rendering was. The rendering, of course, was an artist's rendition, so to speak, and it exaggerated the amount of purple that you'd actually see. So this, as I mentioned before, is an actual photograph. And you can see that the purple is really minimized and quite muted. And the reason being is the location of the LED lights behind the slats. So it is projecting the light onto the purple surface. So the purple surface itself does not emanate any light. So it appears as a faint glow. And I think the last time there was a reference to an article in the Huffington Post, and as you reread that article, you will find that the purple that was mentioned, I think the spokesman said that it would be visible for a quarter of a mile.
Yes.
And but as you see it, it will be no more visible than the light that comes from within the building itself. So that, I believe, was a little overstated, being a Taco Bell spokesman in his stating how grand it was. But you can see from the photograph that it is very limited, and of course, by the fact that it does not give off light itself, that it's really an ambient type light, very soft, and does not, in my opinion, form any kind of problem for any person who would see it. And I think it's quite in line with the character of the building itself.
How do you want to address the material change from brick or masonry to the Efus material behind the slats?
Oh yeah, once again, the slats, of course, mask that area totally, and so you'll get a daytime vision of that that's in some ways similar to the nighttime vision. You'll merely get a glance of it. From a structural standpoint, it would help us in the fact that we would not have to structure a lintel or a beam on top of the glass in order to carry the brick. You know, it becomes a lot less structural consideration with us going to the lighter ethers. So from a constructability standpoint, it would really help us in making that change.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
what would you say would be the distance between the slat and the Efus surface?
It's about 6 inches. It's about 6 inches.
How are you going to perform maintenance on that 6 inches of that Efus?
Well, the way the slats are installed, there's a method by which they can take the slats down 7, 10 years from now when they need to refinish that surface. But there's a mechanism that allows them to take the slats completely down, do maintenance, and put it back up.
How long has this prototype been used?
It's only been in use for a few months. I can't say exactly how long,
A
but
few months.
just a few months. Yes,
Right,
it's been less than a
because
year.
there's a really nice Taco Bell in Spring Hill that's fairly new, so I just wondered when the change happened.
Yeah, well, well, of course, you know, these kinds of changes have been on the board for some time. And out of the Irvine, California, which is where this image came from. So, of course, the new prototypes are built on the West Coast first. We have some built in California, some built in Colorado. And as they are built there and they're tested there, then once they pass a certain point of testing and getting the customer feedback, then it is then spread to the other parts of the country. So that's why that got built or renovated under an old model, because it just had not reached that point where the new prototype had taken hold.
So all the Taco Bells from here on, well, until a change happens again, will look like, or they would like them to look like this?
They will look very similar, and there will be a renovation process going on of some of the existing Taco Bells that would also change those to have a character very similar to this, based upon how exactly the floor plan lays out and how large it is, but it'll have the same general character. And the franchisees are obligated by their contract with Taco Bell to make these periodic changes. So there will be many more coming in the future.
Does Taco Bell really feel that one design is going to fit the entire nation that would be acceptable? Every area has its own unique standards and desires, and it's hard for me to imagine that only one design is going to be it for the entire country.
Well, the only variation on that would be, at least for the new stores, would be whether or not it's a 40-seat model, 54-seat model, 66-seat model. So they all vary somewhat. So some are wider, some are longer. The dining area is the only thing that actually grows on it. So it's going to have a little variation from that standpoint. In some cases, the stone may end up in the middle, you know, especially on the renovated models, because they're working with an existing floor plan. But from a conceptual standpoint, yes, it would be. It's much like the old model. If you look at the old model that had the flying arch on the top, those appeared everywhere for years. And even the ones that they renovated from, at one point, of course, they had the mansard roof with the tile looking very Spanish-like. So every 5 or 10 years, this renovation or new model comes into play, much like the McDonald's are doing. You know,
How did the Spring Hill model evolve? That seems to be different from any other pictures we've seen, and we all kind of like that type of architecture.
Well, it was based on a totally different model. Even the floor plan is different.
And talk about the exterior.
Yeah, well, sometimes the exterior has to do with the with the prototype that is created from. There are several prototypes. So as mentioned before, there was a hybrid that occurred in between the old style and the new style coming on board.
So will they have to update, in Spring Hill, will they have to update to this new purple illuminated metal?
Probably by contract, it'll be about another 10 years, but by contract, they'll have to. but not in the near future.
Because it's,
Unless the model changes again.
Yes, unless the model changes again.
right, because if they've got 10 years to make the change, it's probably going to change again before that 10 years is up, right?
Well, probably not, because each franchisee is under contract. So they are obligated to make the change within a certain period of time based upon their contract with Taco Bell. So I don't know exactly what the terms of this owner's deal is with Taco Bell. It may be 7 years, it may be 10 years. But whenever that point occurs, they'll have to make the change. And by that time, there may be a new model by then.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
I guess what upsets me the most about this is the fact, last month, we stood here and discussed this, and we left this meeting all in agreement on what we thought we were going to get, yourself and the board members. And we were in total agreement. And now we've got another change, and I can only think, what's going to happen next month? Are we going to be confronted with a change every month along the way until we get back to what we had originally? This bothers me. Having an agreement and then coming back with a different plan.
Well, when I was here last month, my intentions were to live by what we had talked about. But in going back to the ultimate owner, who's Taco Bell, then they have the final say-so. And we were instructed by the corporate offices to build this as stated with the prototype with the purple color. So that's why we're back in front of you.
Would it help to have somebody representing the owners here?
I don't know if that would, well, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But when you're saying the owners, are you meaning Taco Bell? Are you meaning the owners of the local?
Whoever's telling you, whoever's instructing you to follow this prototype, and when you go back to them with what we decided on, and they say, no, it needs to be this way, that would be the person that, probably would be good for,
Yeah.
for us to talk to.
Well, I believe for that, we could ask for that, but they would have to send a delegate from their Irvine, California office here to do that. So I'm not sure that would be a practical thing for them to do.
For a California kind of setting, but for Fairview, Tennessee, this just doesn't match what we're wanting at all. It's not what we agreed on. It's not even your renderings, that you went back, it's tough. You reverted right back to the original plan before you come in and seen us.
I can see this in a California or a Las Vegas or something like that, but, Fairview is, I go back to the one in Spring Hill. That's just such a nice prototype, and I don't understand why we can't, it's new. It's a new store. It's not, something old. And if you have different prototypes, why can't, they
Well,
have that prototype?
it's policy, and you have to realize that this is corporate policy. So I don't know when the planning for the Spring Hill unit started. It could have started 3 years ago, before this prototype was even on the market. But once the prototype hits the market, then that's what they build everywhere.
I don't think they build them everywhere. They have to build them to the individual municipality planning codes. And we've worked with Walmart, MAPCO, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, all corporate entities that have taken the designs and our standards and fit a prototype to those standards. And that's what we're asking Taco Bell to do. And it doesn't appear that that's what they want to do.
Well, the only thing that's in variance here is the color, that purple color.
There's a difference between the variance that we agreed to with the brick all the way up to.
And, honestly, I got to say that the Efus over the windows because of the weight, I mean, you can probably make a case because it is a lighter weight material, and from a construction standpoint, I would probably work with them on the Efus on top because it's behind the slats, and it's a lighter weight material. You may not see it as much, but the color scheme for Fairview, Tennessee is an issue.
And you said Taco Bell has policies, well, so do we.
Okay.
And that's what we sat and discussed here in the last meeting, is the policies, and we tried working with them. And it just seems that, well, here's our policy, take it or leave it type of situation is kind of what I'm feeling from what they're coming back with.
Well-
If I can just say something right here. Number one, we are all excited about Taco Bell coming to Fairview. The citizens are excited. We're excited about the jobs, the revenue, and everything else about it. We do have a conformity that we have to go by, just like corporate does, where they're, and I'm sure that they, the way they do business, they're certain about the profitability of putting this Taco Bell in this city, and we want it here. However, we do have codes and customs that we have to conform with, or we would have a menagerie of different buildings and structures and types and 3 stories and 2 stories and just everything going on. Were the codes of this city considered when they decided to come here? Just out of curiosity. I would think so if it's a corporate. Did they consult you with that as an engineer?
No, they didn't. But as we look at it, we have conformed with the exception of the color. We have changed the building from what it normally is built under the prototype. It's no longer stucco completely. I mean, we've changed it to brick, and what we asked was just the area behind the slats over the glass, not to be.
It's not necessarily behind the slats, it's the conformity of the percentage of brick it's supposed to be. Am I correct, Don? It won't conform with the 70%. Is that right or wrong?
Well, the way the design standards, the way it's worded, it's 70% on all 4 sides of the building. So a loose interpretation would mean that all sides would have to have at least 70%.
And the front would not have, those, the
Not
design we have here would not.
Not 70% overall.
Right.
But 70% in each wall.
Of each side, exactly.
Surface, yes.
So it would not qualify or fall under that ordinance, am I correct?
Most of it's glass.
Right. Which is not counted.
Design standards all blazing, so, and it can't penalize a person on the design when they have to have glass.
So just, the question I guess would be to you and Will, would the way that it's set up now, they would like with the Efus back there instead of the brick back there, would that building conform to codes?
Well, being that it wouldn't be seen in the general public whatsoever, and it's.
What if it would be seen?
It's
I
going
don't
to be.
think that's in the ordinance if it's seen or not seen, is it?
Well,
I know it's not an easy question to ask, but I'm just, upon what I'm going to vote on, that's the
Building
answer I'm
with-
looking for.
May interject, other cases we've had where the back of the building was required to have the proper building materials, even though they would not be, quote, seen from the general public. Behind, the back of Publix has building materials that are approved. Yes, Mr. Hall.
But the back of Depot doesn't.
Yes, Mr. Thompson, the last time you were here, one of my main reasons for voting for the variance was because you were going all brick. That included the back too. Do you still plan on doing brick on the back also?
Yes.
You haven't varied from that at all?
Haven't varied from that. The only change we're asking is just that the surface behind the slats.
The slats, okay.
And in answer to a little clarification, if we had a building, if the front of this building was all glass, then it would not be 70%. So when you look at the metal above the glass, one could say that metal is part of the storefront. So in essence, the front is all glass.
That's
You know, so when you get to the 70%, you know, certainly on that surface it's not. But if you were to calculate the entire area of the building, all the sides to solid and the back and the other side, then you would come out with the total being 70% of the entire surface. I know how the ordinance is written.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that in the spirit of what you're doing, we still hit the 70%.
I'm actually trying to help you here.
Yeah, I understand. I was
Don,
just trying to
as it
help.
stands, would it meet the ordinance for brick using the Efus, considering the glass and the metal?
Being that they've been given a variance for the painted metal slats, it would conform to our standards.
Okay. That's all I wanted.
Mr. Thompson?
I still have another question here that I think is going to possibly, before you were going to put brick behind the slats, which you said would soften the glow of the purple. Can the Efus be colored similar to what the brick would be colored to soften the glow of the purple?
Well, that was a question that I posed to corporate, and they were pretty adamant about the purple as being part of the logo and branding system.
I understand that.
You know,
but
and they don't want to change from that.
even with you soften the glow of it.
Right. Well, the only way we could, I believe that they would be willing to go is that we could maybe go to a somewhat lighter shade of.
But you're not sure of that,
But
because
I'm
the
not
last
sure
time
of
you went
that
back, they
because-
sent you back again.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But the purple is an integral part of their branding, and
Okay, thank you, sir.
but as you see by the photographs, it's not that much of an impact visually.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine.
That's the question I was going to ask, Commissioner. Okay. If we couldn't change the color of the Efus to a tan, something to match the brick, to give a more subtle lighting effect instead of this purple. I think that's the whole crust of it, is the purple.
Yeah, well, once again, the purple is part of their corporate image.
Well,
Now, can I ask a question? Don, is there an ordinance forbidding the difference in the color?
The colors have to be of earth tone colors,
That,
which the purple would not.
So that, it does not?
No, sir.
okay. Any other comments about the building design itself? I'd like to bring up the location of the building itself and the driveway, that it was going to be in the middle of the redevelopment portion of the Walmart site. We have the Walmart plan there in front of Mr. Lavorne that shows where that is going to take place in relation to the Dollar General store, which is just to the bottom of that, to the right, and the storage units, which are across the street. What we find is that the print shows that that driveway location is right at the beginning of the tapering of that 3-lane turning lane area that will be part of the Walmart change. So that restaurant will not have a true turning lane in front of it, and as a matter of fact, has caution lines are put onto that Walmart print that shows that there's actually an area that will bring it out to the 3-lane, and there's cautionary lines in that taper area. I asked the city attorney if somebody was going to turn in that cautionary area, if they could get a ticket, and they said that they would. So if you are traveling south or west on Highway 100 and want to turn into that restaurant of Taco Bell, and you cross that cautionary lines, you could theoretically get a ticket. So if we're going to have something to go in like that, we've got to have a turning lane in Highway 100. And those were available when this project came out. And we were told by the engineer that met with us at staff review that print was available. And I'm judging that you've never seen that print.
No, I hadn't, because that would be done by the civil engineer, not by the architect.
Not by the architect. That's an issue that needs to be addressed from the civil engineer's standpoint as well.
I emailed a copy of the drawings to Mr. Lukens.
Okay.
So he has the plans.
Don, what does the ordinance state as far as turning lane goes for that business?
I don't believe that we really have any regulations, because that's a state highway and we can't regulate.
In regard to that, from the experience that we had with Caspian out there, wasn't there some pretty severe limitations from the state of Tennessee as to how long it had to be and everything else as far as widening the highway go? Or would y'all know? I know it was, but
Well,
I know they had to put them in.
yeah.
I believe it was based on a traffic study that was done.
Traffic study and
There was
speed
a
limit.
traffic study, and the state told them where it began and where it ended.
When a project locates on the state highway, those plans have to be submitted to TDOT for that access point, because they're the ones that will have to give the permit to have the access off of 100. And in reviewing the permit for that access point, if they see anything that they feel that is necessary, they will require that at that point in time. But
So if
the
they
city-
think it's safe and everything's okay, they won't require it. If they don't think so, they'll require it. Much as they did with Walmart having to go up so many more feet because it wasn't adequate for what they wanted.
Yes, sir.
So basically what they're saying is on this right here, Mr. Chairman, is really it's going to be tough for us to make a decision on what we discussed right here, because we really don't know what the state of Tennessee is going to do. I don't know how when are we going to approve it? When will we get a decision from the state of Tennessee?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at just the entrance itself, were you going to discuss staff's recommendations from the staff review that we had, and requesting that they bisect the property line with the access point and have a shared access instead of having 3 different access points off of Highway 100 into these 3 different properties?
Wasn't their original plan show as one access for all 3 properties?
No, their original plan was what you have here. At staff review of that conceptual plan, we asked them to move the access point to bisect the property line because we didn't want to have 3 access points off of Highway 100 in that short of span.
Or was that agreed to without me looking back on it?
It wasn't agreed to. It was something that that the city engineer, myself, and a couple of the planning commission members had sat in on that review as well, had requested, because we're trying to limit access to Highway 100 in that area. And we have plans of possibly a parallel road to Highway 100 to get people off on that road into the businesses instead of having access off of Highway 100, just having a few access points.
Much like MAPCO? And the
Yes.
property adjacent to that is approved?
Yes, sir.
And that's the direction that TDOT is going as well, is to limit the amount of traffic going in and out of 100 on new driveways. So by combining the driveways of the 2 separate lots, you only have 1 access point.
Has the other 2 parcels been subdivided off yet? Don?
Well, it was just 2 lots.
But I think it would be very difficult to ask somebody else to try to come in and get those, because from past experience with Publix, the state of Tennessee, they did not approve that. They denied that even for something as large as Publix. They did not want but one entry point there. And we had to make a different route to give them another access up here. So I don't think they would approve that for two smaller parcels out there, for those 3 inches to be subdivided off one piece. Don, do you have an input on that?
What was that?
The-
That was a discussion with the city engineer.
Don't want me to say that again. We were talking about the possibilities of the state, if this is not subdivided yet for the other two parcels they're talking about. It's unlikely in my mind that the TDOT would agree to another interest point off of that if subdivided, because surely to goodness, as much property as the frontage was on Publix, they didn't want but one. And they had 6 prior to that, and they cut it down to 1, am I right?
I would feel like TDOT would probably encourage them to have an shared access point, so there's not that many, because this property right here, these two parcels actually exist. The subdivision has already been created, so there's actually 3 lots there. So if we have, and they all are potential fast food restaurants that have been looking at these lots. So you'd have 3 fast food restaurants in a row there that would have, in a short span, 3 access points off the highway. So if you can limit the access points, it's a safety measure that I think TDOT would actually require them to do. And the engineer had asked me, well, why can't we require the access point at this property line for these two? And I said, well, we're not dealing with those properties right now. We're dealing with Taco Bell.
Right.
So then, so what you're wanting to do is make this access point at the property line?
At this property line here.
Basically mirror image the plan.
Okay, but you cannot mirror image the plan, because the drive-through for the window has to be on that side. It cannot be on the passenger side. If you mirror image the building, then the access to the driving window is on the passenger side, and you cannot have that. No, that's.
Talking about the whole.
We're not talking about the building.
No, we're talking about the whole drive, everything.
We're just talking about the entrance coming in. The entrance needs to be a shared entrance for both properties.
Well, okay, well, then how would that site plan work then? If that entry, if you left the building where it is and you move the entry to that, to the center of that property line, there's not enough space, especially allowing the amount of parking that we need, to run another road parallel to Highway 100 to get to the other side of the building. See, now you come in and you've got to go all the way across the front of the building. I mean, if you were to make the change, you'd have to come across the front of the building, make a left to get into the parking area, and completely go around to get to the drive-in. So that doesn't appear to be very practical.
Don't you have to drive in and go all the way around to get to the other side, to get to the driving window?
Yes, I understand, yes. But if you put the drive here, then one has to come in and somehow make a sharp turn within this front yard to go this way to get to the parking on this side. So that is not, from a traffic standpoint, that's not very practical.
The site would have to be redesigned to allow for your circulation of your drive-through traffic, so it's not crossing oncoming traffic, but it can be done.
Yes, it can be done, but it would be very, very awkward for this client in order to do that, to come in here, give up all of this green space, this frontage, to put a roadway across here to get to this side of the parking. So,
If
My-
I'm
my
understanding this
question would
part
be-
correctly, though, what Mr. Sutton was saying is we have no control over that part. You know, this part of the discussion that we're having is somewhat irrelevant because we can say yes, and the state of Tennessee can very easily come back and say, no, you can't do this. So, yes, this is our recommendation that may help that, but even though we say yes, the state of Tennessee may say no. Is that?
well, the only issue about yes and no right now is since this is the only real and viable ongoing project, I mean, what's planned here and when is that going to come on board? What's planned there and when is that going to come on board? This is a real project right now.
If I
So the
can-
only issue is the entry right here.
If I can help you again,
Okay.
you're right, this is the only thing that we're studying at this point right here. The entire property belongs to the same person, right?
Well,
It's been subdivided, but it
two.
still belongs to the same
Yeah.
person. So in the future, it's gonna be, when they get ready to parcel that out to whoever, which I really hope that they do, and we get some more business in it, it's gonna be their responsibility to make sure, when they sell that, they're gonna have a way to get in that building.
That's
Into that
correct.
parking lot. And I'm almost assuring you that state of Tennessee is not gonna have three entrances within 50 feet of each other. It's just not, I don't think so. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and the state of Tennessee will have to deal with the traffic problem coming into it. So to me, that's not a concern at this time with what we're trying to do here, because it's gonna be, it's their property. It's gonna be their problem when the time comes, and it's gonna have to be solved.
It's going to be the city's problem with the traffic issues that we have on Highway 100 as it is now, without a turning lane in front of that restaurant.
I don't see how they're not gonna require them to have a turning lane, and that's something we can't find out right now. But I
As
don't,
a conceptual site plan, this is our opportunity to let them understand what we need as a city. This is what we, in order to do business, this is what we need to be able to do as a commission whose sole authority is to plan out how this city is going to grow. And in this situation, I believe that we have a situation that Tennessee Department of Transportation has asked us, or has told us, that we are going to build these roads to this level, and that's it. But we do not have a time frame on when the widening will happen, if it ever will. So that means we need to take a look at how we're going to get that turning lane. And if TDOT isn't going to do it, then the people that are going to develop the area should do it.
I don't, just for discussion, I don't think we have the authority to make them do it. Not on that state highway. Am I correct?
You can't tell the
We
state
don't
how
have the
they're gonna build their
authority to make
highway.
them do it.
And ultimately, when they get around to opening those other two lots, they're gonna have to provide them some way to have access to the road. They may not like it, but they're gonna have to provide them some way to have access to the road, or they're gonna have to buy the lots. Because that's a taking. That's inverse condemnation.
That's what I was kind of saying. Right.
I mean, if the state can come out there and strongly suggest that they have a common one, like down here at Publix, they denied two, but it was two entrances to the same property. They did not deny them one entrance. If you're going to deny me entrance to and that's my only way out, then the state's going to have to buy the property, because that's an inverse condemnation.
the planning commission can approve this plat contingent upon them bringing back a plan that shows a shared access point for those two properties. And then, once they resubmit that and the planning commission approves it, or if they approve it contingent upon it and they bring back a plan that shows that, then that's what's gonna go to TDOT for them to get their driveway permit, their access permit off that highway.
Well, aren't we doing the same thing right now with the property over on 96? Where the duplexes want to be built, we're waiting on TDOT discussion, whether we have another additional access point there.
Yes, sir.
We did that same thing contingent upon that, so if we're gonna do it for that, it needs to be done for this too, I think, that's me.
But if you approve it contingent upon them having a shared access point, then before they can move on to their preliminary, they would have to submit plans. Their preliminary plans would have to reflect what the planning commission has approved.
To the state.
Well, back to your preliminary, they probably won't start submitting anything to TDOT until they start working on their construction plans.
But since we don't have any control over what they do on the highway, which we don't, I've experienced that before, am I correctly? It's going to be up to them to do something with their property, rather than it go to waste. They're going to, I wouldn't buy it if I couldn't have an access road on it. And I'm sure when that's looked at, it's going to be considered. It's going to be, to me, it's y'all's responsibility. And I know this is not necessarily what you're saying, because we have no control over the entrances to the road. TDOT does. And it's just strictly going to be to y'all's advantage in order to ever sell that property and develop that property to have those. So for now, I'm not concerned with it. I know exactly what the chairman is saying, and I agree with him 100%. And we've changed ordinances before to where we like to have turning lanes wherever we need it, where the business goes in. I think it should be all the way up and down the highway. But once again, according to legal counsel, that's not our authority to do. So
Now, like I said, you do have the authority to prove it with shared access. And if you wait to try to get shared access from the next property that comes in, you may not get the other property owners to agree to the easement.
So right now,
Right now, the same owner owns both properties.
So your suggestion would be to,
That if you're going to require a shared access point, this is the time to do it. Because if you try to require it on somebody else's property, they might not play ball with you. This is owned by the same person.
Just as a point of, just to get clarified, you're saying that this property and this property are owned by the same person?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, where's the third piece of property? Is it
Right there.
Is it here?
Yes, sir.
And that's also owned by the same person?
No. It's owned by somebody totally different.
Okay.
Just the site for the Taco Bell and the one just adjacent to it, both of those are owned by the same person.
we're talking about subdividing the second lot, am I right? Now, is that what we're talking about?
Subdividing this lot?
No,
This,
We've already subdivided
let's see.
This one,
the first lot.
that's already done.
okay, that,
That's owned by the same people.
right.
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure from a planning standpoint that had my client known that he would have to create a shared access point, then I think that would have factored in to the viability of him even considering this site as really being viable. So, for it to get this far with the planning standards as they are, with no mention when we first started the planning that is to have a shared access, then, this is coming back at the end now.
No, this is in the conceptual.
I was at that staff review meeting, and that shared access was brought up to the civil engineer. I was there. Long before this paper ever got generated.
So what
But
you're saying
I'm-
is, what you're saying, if we don't approve the access like it is, that they're not going to build, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not really saying that.
Oh, yes,
But that's
you did.
But that's a good possibility.
Oh.
Of course.
Okay. This is what the final plat of Walmart striping plan shows for Highway 100. On the top of the area on the left-hand side is the sidewalks that are going to end. You're going to have a sidewalk in front of the Dollar General over to the White House, and the area in between is the area that we're talking about tonight. You can see the striping starts to become that cautionary yellow stripe, and you're going to have traffic come over from the top heading east, cut across that cautionary taper and into the restaurant. And that's the current location that you have on your plan now. Even if we didn't have it and we shared it, you're still going to have that issue.
Right.
But you have probably going to go farther with TDOT by being able to get two lots with one access, then separate access.
So you're saying moving this is our access right here, right?
Yes.
So you said moving it down, moving it down to here. Is that what you're saying, which is about halfway?
That's
Moving it-
about what they were talking about at staff review, yes.
I don't see how that benefits anything. If you zoom out a little bit, there's another drive on this end down here, right? There's a drive there, so how would this benefit moving down here as opposed to leaving it where it is with the location of that drive right there?
Because you can pretty much eliminate any access from, well, no, that's not true. I take that back.
It just seems to me that if you want a shared access, then that owner should be placed upon the purchaser of this piece and that piece, and leave that where it is. Then you still don't have the three accesses. You have two instead of three.
If the state Tennessee's not happy with it, they'll require you to stripe it on out and widen the highway.
I don't think either the city or the state can deny you access to the property. That's your only way out. You're not going to be able to deny them access without buying the property.
They denied Publix down here, didn't offer to buy that.
They had one access. The second one was the one they got with the road.
There's access to that property right now down by the White House, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to, they only have one lot. And
Same owner owns all of them. Same person owns all of them.
but if you're going to deny the person access, there's not anything going on the other one. If you're going to deny the person access, they can make an awful good case for the fact that you've taken their property.
That all on you, on the access? Go back and address the purple color.
Sorry.
I want to go back and address the purple color. I need to ask Don a question.
Okay.
Don, do we consider the green on MAPCO to be earth tone?
Yes, sir.
We do. News to me.
How about AutoZone? AutoZone,
AutoZone,
the red,
it's orange, and orange is
considered earth tone.
considered earth tone.
Thank you.
Do we have any further discussion on any of the points that we brought up? Mr. Benson, you want to?
Mr. Chairman, we have a vote, or we don't have a vote. We have an approval and second on the acceptance of the plans as submitted for Taco Bell. I'd like to modify that motion to include, number one, that we be presented plans for a shared access drive with two parcels based on TDOT approval. And number two, Efus is fine, but the color's got to change to an earth tone.
Have a second? Have a second here? Any discussion on the amendments?
Just to make sure we're approving this on a contingency of the shared drive upon approval from TDOT.
Mm-hmm.
We're approving the EFS part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not approving the purple.
Right, earth tone.
Earth, it needs to be an earth tone.
That meets our codes.
Earth tone behind there,
Yeah, the Efus would be painted earth tone
on behind the
behind the slats.
What gives off the purple effect?
Efus,
LED light.
Efus is painted purple.
What was the question?
The ephes itself is painted.
And
What gives off the purple color?
shining on the purple.
Oh, it's the Efus,
It
the
is
color,
the
the
Efus?
Efus, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we ready for a vote or?
I got a motion and a second. Are we finished with discussion on the amendment to the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Got 3 nays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
On roll call.
You both welcome to do a roll call. Commissioner Hall?
Nay.
Yes.
That's Be here? Yes. Hey, Todd? And I vote yes. Okay, that's the amendment. Now we have the motion on the floor. Is that correct? Do we need to vote on that as well? Larry?
You vote on the original motion
On the original
as
motion.
amended.
As amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call again. Commissioner Hall?
Nay.
Commissioner Sutton? Commissioner Benson?
Yes.
Commissioner Behan? Mitchell? Yay. Commissioner Anderson? Mr. Mayor Todd? And I vote yay. Okay, item 8.3. Conceptual site plan for fast-paced medical clinic to build a 3,956 square foot building located at 2203 Fairview Boulevard, map 42, parcel 140, 0.69 acres, Green and Little LP, Tennessee Limited Partnership.
Second.
I'd like to open up the discussion with the engineer's report.
Mr. Chairman, item 8.3, there are no engineering comments.
Okay, we got the map up. If there's any questions or discussions for the representatives here?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, sir.
This property has an existing structure on it. Why is it not noted on the drawing? Are you going to use the same structure? Are you going to raise it?
That's just our preliminary concept plan, and so to declutter the drawing, I've turned that off. I've actually got a separate sheet in a full plan set that will show the existing structure. But just to show you what we're proposing and not necessarily what's there, I'd turn that layer off.
Other question, are you planning on using that structure?
No, sir.
Current structure, okay.
We're going to tear it down. When we come back with our preliminary plan set for construction plans, there'll be an additional sheet that shows existing conditions.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussions? Questions?
I'd like for him to explain, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The access route for ambulance access.
I think you probably are referring to, we were asked at the preliminary meeting maybe to look into getting a cross access with the chiropractic clinic. The client did do that, and at this time, Mr. Messick, the doctor of the chiropractic clinic, was not interested in doing that because I think he has a future plan to expand his building or to put another building behind that. So there's adequate room for the ambulance to come in and come back behind the building and turn around and go back out. But they won't be able to get that extra access across the other property because he doesn't want to give it to them.
But we do have an ambulance access to the rear of the property.
Yeah, the loading and unloading zone there would be where they would pull up and park, and then there will be adequate room for them to come in behind the building and then make a turnaround to go back out.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Item 8.4, final plat for Phase 1 and 2 of Deer Valley Downs subdivision, map 46, parcel 17, 15.17 acres, zoned RS8, HUD 25 lots, Tony Cavender owner.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second and approval, open for discussion. I'd like to incorporate the engineer's comments, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Item 8.4, there are 6 engineering comments. Number 1, a copy of the TDEC construction stormwater permit needs to be submitted to the city along with a copy of the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Number 2, construction plans shall be submitted and approved prior to signing of the final plot. Number 3, the associated easement for the existing overhead power lines that is to be relocated should be included on the plot until that easement has been abandoned by the agency holding the easement. As such, it is believed that lots 31 and 35 are not suitable building lots until the existing easement is abandoned. Number 4, the development agreement and associated performance bonds needs to be approved by the Planning Commission prior to signing of the final plot. Number 5, final community association documents, including the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, ownership and maintenance plans of the proposed open spaces and stormwater facilities, articles of incorporation, and the bylaws of association need to be submitted. Final, number 6, if proposed improvements have not started within 2 years of the construction plan approved date, the construction plan shall be resubmitted to the city for approval.
Any further discussion on the subdivision final plat?
Any conditions are acceptable to us. The stormwater pollution prevention plan is completed on my desk, ready for submittal. We do plan to submit the construction plans within a few days to Mr. Owen. And so understand those conditions. We have no problem with those. So really have no further comment. Thank you.
Don, do you see any other further problems?
No, sir, but you need to amend your motion to include the engineer's comments.
Make a contingent on the engineer's comments.
I'm in the motion for approval of the engineering
Second.
report.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All those in favor of the motion, the original motion? With the amendments?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8.5 is discuss interaction on recommendations from the workshop we had this evening about the land use map. Mayor Powder, I don't believe we have any recommendations at this time.
I will share with the public that the workshops are for the purpose of evaluating the current land use and the proposed land use map of the city of Fairview. And the goal of the Planning Commission for that is to look at the usage of our community and to look at the growth as we see it at 840, I-40, Highway 100, and the city center, and to make sure that we are being proactive in our planning and looking at each piece of Fairview and its assets and making sure that we are working with the future in mind. So those workshops are very productive. Tonight we did not come with any type of recommendations unless any of the commission want to make comments. There'll be no action.
Item 8.6 then would be discuss interaction on a plan of services for the annexation of the Jerry Carey property and the Russell Spicer property. I believe, is there a record,
I don't think they have to be here tonight.
do they have to be?
No.
Okay, because this has been before us before. We
This-
approved it.
Yeah, this is just a plan of services that the Board of Commissioners referred back to us. By law, Planning Commission has to give a recommendation for a plan of services.
Make a motion for approval of a plan of... Make a motion for approval of plan of services for the two properties presented.
Second.
The second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion opposed. Motion carries. Item 9.1, we have reports for discussion and information from the Planning, Zoning, and Codes Department.
I don't think I have anything.
All right.
I had to think there for a minute.
Item 9.2 is the city engineer.
We'll make it 2 for 2, and I'll put the pressure on the attorney here to make it 3 for 3. I have no comments.
Item 9.3 is a city attorney.
Well, unfortunately, I can't let it slip by like that, but I'll make my comments short. For the benefit of the people that are the public that are here and are watching this on TV, this board has heard me say this before, but the land use plan is a very important document. I'm glad to see that the Planning Commission is reviewing this document. It is a liquid document. It is not intended to never make any changes, but it is a planning instrument so that this board can have something to look at rather than just what you remember, that of the vision that you want the city, this board thinks they want to see how the city looks in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years from now. It will hopefully preclude some things from happening that you look down the road 4 or 5 years from now and say, why did we do that? If I'd known this would have happened, we would have done something differently. That's not to say that it don't ever need to be changed, because if it didn't, you'd make one back in 1998 when this thing came out, and you never have to look at it anymore other than to see what you were going to do. But people's, the progression of what the people want changes. Because of that, the desired type of building in areas change, and when it does, this map needs to change to go with that. But it's good to see that you're reviewing it to be sure, so that you have, as you used to tell us in the military, it's no guarantee, but what you do is look at it and come up with the best plan that you can come up with, the one that offers the city the best chance for success. Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not, because none of us are perfect. But it is certainly a great improvement over somebody saying, well, let's zone this, let's build this over here. And I compliment you on the fact that you will take the time to look at it and have a vision of what this board recommends that the city should look like. And if it's not what it should look like, you will hear about it. And you will have to address it again. And the only other thing I'd want to make a comment on the plan of services, as Don said, he was correct that it's referred to the Planning Commission, not for their approval, but for their recommendation. The Planning Commission does not have to approve it. They don't have to they can disapprove it. But the state statute says that before the annexation is complete, the plan of services must be submitted to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission must make a recommendation, which means either you recommend it or you don't recommend it. And I just wanted to throw that out for clarification. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall?
I have nothing tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sutton?
No, do I?
Commissioner Benson?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Behan?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Mitchell? Nothing, Mr. Fisher. Commissioner Anderson?
I just wanted to let everybody know that, believe it or not, football's starting again in Fairview, and it's an exciting season for our Yellow Jackets. Our first home game is August 23rd, which is a week from Friday, at 7 o'clock here at home against Cheatham County. So just make plans to be there and support your team.
Mayor Toddy?
Nothing, thank you.
I have one thing that we've spoken about on the edges and something that I would like to see developed in a little further along, and that would be to get the planning